Hello everyone, welcome. This is another episode of Dada STEM, but today we're doing it quite different. Unlike where we do interviews of other women, today we have an amazing woman who's gonna teach us, we're gonna learn. This is a topic that we rarely talk about as SRHR, and as women in the STEM spaces, we tend to forget ourselves, we tend to forget about all this. And we got a SRHR, yes, advocate, who will take us through all this because we really need to learn as women, as girls in the STEM spaces. So Jeronime, karibu sana, and yeah, take us through. And before that, she's doing amazing with her organization, Youth Empowerment on SRHR, Advocacy and Mentorship. And through this, she's been able to reach out to more than 6,000 girls, which is amazing, and 500 women. So yeah, we're gonna learn a lot. And karibu sana, Jeronime. I got my notebook ready for all of you.
Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah. So, hi everyone. My name is Jeronime Obwar, and I come from Kisumu. I come from an organization called Youth Empowerment on SRHR, Advocacy and Mentorship. It is a community-based organization, and basically what we do is to empower young people with information on SRHR so that they can be able to make informed choices about themselves. We reach out to young people within the informal settlements, and we love doing our work. So I am an SRHR advisor and advocate. I also do SRHR consultancy. So, and I'm also very delighted to be here to at least have this discussion with you. So what is SRHR? Very, very interesting topic. SRHR is sexual and reproductive health and rights. This is a concept of human rights applied to reproduction and sexuality. And as I talk about that, I think you know that it revolves around almost all the 17 goals of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We have about 7 agendas of the SDGs revolving around SRHR. And then SRHR is very, very key, but then we tend to neglect it. We tend to neglect it, not knowing that our lives are actually revolving around SRHR. So people, like maybe I normally walk and ask somebody, do you know what your SRHR are? Sexual, reproductive, and health rights. Do you know them? Do you know your rights? Do women know their rights? Do men know their rights? Do women know that they have a right to say no at some times? Do they even know they have these sexual boundaries that they always need to observe? And just as you say that the women in STEM might be so much absorbed in their STEM work and then forget about this, their personal life and their sexual health and their reproductive health. Number one, do they know that they have a right to say no to sex? Do they know that somebody has to seek the consent first before having this sex? That they don't really need to have sex because somebody else wants them to have sex, but they need to have sex because they also feel like they need to have this sex. They need to have it the way they want it. Nobody needs to infringe their rights in terms of sexual matters. Do they know that they have the right to say that I want children? When and if? How many children do I want? It is up on them to say the number of children that they want to have. It is nobody's, mandate to impose on them, like, I want us to have 10 children or I want us to have 5 children. This person needs to ask this woman, how many children do you think we should have? How many children are you comfortable with carrying? Simply because it is the woman who carries the pregnancy, it is not the man. So I will say the amount of children that I want to have because I know that it is my life. When I carry a pregnancy, there is changes to my body changes, everything changes about me. So it is just proper for somebody to, discuss this with me. Like, how many children do you think we should have? Like, do they know that they have a right to negotiate for condom use? Do they know that? Like, because like you just find like they want to engage themselves in a sexual intercourse. but then somebody just wants to have sex with them without condom. But then these women need to know that they have a right to say, no, if you don't use condom, then I'm not gonna have sex with you. And if this person tries to force you, then it will be called a sexual abuse. So women have the right to negotiate on condom use. These women also, they have a right to choose on what contraceptive method that they want to have. The doctors do not really need to impose the types of contraception on them. Instead, the doctors need to explain to them all the methods of contraception so they can choose, because most of them are hormonal. A doctor can't just tell me you need to use implants, you need to use pills, you need to use the IUD, because they don't understand my hormones. I'm the one who needs to choose that I want to try pills, I want to try the Depo-Provera, and if I go test it out, it doesn't work well with me, then I have this right again to come back to the hospital to change it. It is my body. I need to make choices on my body. You don't need to make that for me. And then another thing, also, women also know that they have a right to choose and have satisfying self-life. Satisfying self-life, not just having sex, but having a satisfying sex life. You know what I understand? You know, like you have a right to say it is okay or it is not okay, you did it bad or you did it well. Women have to know they have a right to do this because it is their bodies. Another thing that women need to know they have a right on is they have a right to access information on SRHR. There's so many information, and they have the right to access this information when it's also very true. And then they also have a right to go to the hospital when they have a sexually transmitted infection, to be seen and to be treated. So you find us women walking into spaces, but we do not know our rights. Another right that women need to know they have is that nobody needs to test their HIV status without their consent. That will be the breach of rights. If you go to the hospital and the doctor tests your status of HIV without telling you, then it is a crime. It is a crime. Basically, women need to know that this is my body, then I have a right over my body. You cannot just come and cross this boundary and just do something on me without even seeking for my consent, without even asking me about it. So that is just about rights. Do you have any question until that?
Actually, I've learned a lot. I didn't know about these rights. There are actually so many. I really didn't know that, like HIV, someone should not really test me without my consent. I didn't know that. I didn't know about all these rights. Like, you have the right to say no, even to sex, and you have the right to actually have a satisfying sex life, and you have the right to make these choices. So yeah, these are rights that maybe I could have thought they actually, they should be there, but I wasn't really sure if these are rights that I really own.
That's impressive. Again, Anna, for that. Welcome, and I feel so good that you've learned that there. And then another thing again is this thing called sexual boundaries. That is so hard. These are boundaries that is so hard to create, because they're so easy to create yet so hard to maintain. I have created a sexual boundary, and by creating a sexual boundary, I mean there is a line whereby nobody should overstep. I have created a line around me that nobody should pass. And if this person passes, no matter who he or she is, then he will be going overboard. And this is not okay. So when we create sexual boundaries, it means we're supposed to communicate it well to these other people. I might be having a boyfriend, but there are those things I don't allow him to do for me. I need to make this very clear to him from the word go. Because maybe I'm like, okay, I am like in a relationship with a guy or with anyone it is, but I don't like being held hands publicly. Then if he holds my hands publicly, he will be crossing my sexual boundaries. I don't like being kissed publicly. You see, like we will just talk, but please don't touch. That is, you're crossing my sexual boundary. And it is very clear, like it is very clear for example.
So actually, you should set these boundaries.
Yes.
You should learn to set these boundaries.
Yes.
Not just take it as automatically. I should say these are my boundaries. I should learn to communicate and say beyond these, and these I want, these I don't want.
Very true. Very true. That is just in connection to the rights, but just talking about the other aspects of SRHR, we have early teen pregnancies. We have young people becoming pregnant without them planning, and then they don't know what life has with them after that. Then you get them going into this vicious circle of poverty because of some choices that they made that are not even going well with their lives. Also, we have a stigmatization in relation to HIV. We have stigmatization in relation to early teen marriages. We also have stigmatization in relation to STI. And for this stigmatization, that is why you find young people cannot really access some spaces because they fear like, oh my God, what is the nurse gonna see? What is this person gonna see? You see, you relate well with that. Yeah, so you find that
Yes.
yeah, so you find us young people, we are in a limbo, maybe let me say I went and had unprotected sex and then I have an STI. I will die by myself because I'm like, what are people going to say? How can I go to the nurse and tell the nurse that I have had sex, you know? Yeah. And then another thing applies to in line of HIV. Another thing applies to PrEP. The drugs being given to people who are at risk before they have sex. You know, young people cannot actually access these PrEPs because of what are people going to say. Now, because they can't access it, they just go and have unprotected sex, and then some of them might even get infected like that. So we lack youth-friendly, services, and that is one of the things that YESAM is actually advocating for. We want a center, or we want centers like in every corners of Kisumu or of everywhere, that youths can freely walk in and get out and get information and get services, be it health services or legal aid services. They want these centers they can freely walk into and not being stigmatized, not being discriminated against. So they want that they cannot even fear about. When these centers are going to be here, that means that youths are going to seek information, youth are going to be satisfied, and then they're going to be able to make informed decisions about themselves.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's really amazing because at times we really don't know. We are afraid. We get these STIs and walking into a hospital to talk about it. You're actually afraid. The nurse will scold me or someone there. They'll say I'm careless, and it's right to actually get treated.
Yeah.
Also tell us a little bit about PrEP. You said something about PrEP for someone who don't know what PrEP is.
Yeah. PrEP is a drug that is given to somebody before having sex or before contacting a partner. That is pre-exposure prophylaxis. You get it when, let me say, you are about to engage in a sexual activity with somebody who you might be thinking is HIV positive, and it's mostly given to people who are at risk. That is we call them people who are commercial sex workers, to long truck drivers. Basically people who are at risk, like women are also at risk. So if you know that the person you're about to engage as maybe HIV, or even you don't know this person's status, it is good then for you to go get PrEP because then you will protect yourself from HIV infection. But not many people actually get access to it. And there's a difference.
So if you walk into a clinic and request for it, you're supposed to get it as a service.
Yes, it is. You're supposed to get it as a service. Yeah.
Okay.
So, any more questions?
I don't know if I have more questions, but probably I would ask a question. Should we really incorporate SRHR and this education to our children? Because especially like in my place, it's really a taboo to even talk about it. At what age should parents actually start talking about this to their children?
Awesome. That's a very, very beautiful question, because at what age, I'm not really sure if there's an age, but I always say that as much as this child can understand what you're saying, then you need to start talking about this to them. If a child knows what is wrong and what is right already, you don't need to wait until they get to 9 years or 10 years, because anyways, they're getting this information from the internet. So you are supposed to talk to them as soon as possible. You see, your child is supposed to know the genitalia by name, not by doo-doo, not by ilekitu. Are you seeing that? You should call the private part by its name, by vagina and by penis to your child. And then tabooing sex talk is what is actually making us be into all this mess we are in right now. We tend to taboo, to make sex a taboo, yet our young people go seek for this information from the internet. And the information they get from the internet maybe is not even true. So they get it from the internet and then they want to experiment. It would be so good if a parent could sit down with their 6-year-old, tell them this, and this, if you have sex, this and this is gonna happen. Because you don't know about hormones nowadays. You can understand how these hormones react nowadays. Feelings do come. We do watch programs with our children. We do watch programs, and there's a lot of things happening on social media. So the earlier you tell them, the better. A lot is happening because we are not so free with our children. We are very busy looking for money, yet we cannot sit down and tell our child this thing. And by not telling our children, they also look for this information from their peers. And the information they get from their peers is what this peer did. This other one is also going to do. So we should start as soon as they can speak and they can listen to you.
Yeah, because it's actually important, especially if for women in the STEM spaces, you find they're very busy women, they have children, they don't have time for these children. So I think we should create time for our children and discuss these issues instead of waiting them to go out there to be taught by the teachers who actually, most of the time, they don't teach them about all these. Yeah, and in a way or another, engage the society and take it like this should be a topic to be discussed to curb some of these issues. Like teenage pregnancy is actually has been so high of late, and if we really took time with our children and the society and make this an open discussion, I think the numbers should actually not be that high.
That is very, very, very true. Again, another thing as to why we are supposed to be talking to our children is because defilement cases have really gone up, you see, and incest. This is defilement and incest, because I didn't teach my daughter very well, I didn't teach my son very well. You can just find the uncle or even the father or even the mother touching him inappropriately. But because I didn't teach them it's something bad, they will just persevere and think it is something normal. What if I told my daughter, this is your vagina, nobody should touch it? She could run to me and say, Mama, so and so touched me, you see.
Yeah, because actually children do know what is right and what is wrong, and unless you tell them this is right and this is wrong, then they really don't know. What you tell them, that's how they take it. And if you don't tell them something is wrong, if someone does something to them, they'll assume it's right, because mommy didn't tell me that this is wrong, daddy didn't tell me.
That is very true. And
so I think it's time we talk to our children and incorporate the society in all these conversations and discussions.
That is very true.
Thank you so much, Jeronime.
Okay.
I don't know if you have something else. To add.
Yeah, I do. It's maybe like a parting shot is abstinence is being preached over the country. But then we are forgetting that these young people, they have feelings and emotions. So instead of just going to tell them to abstain or something, we need to understand they have feelings, because feelings do come. They come. And when they come, they go and get something to finish off the sex feelings that they have. So we're supposed to be teaching them on how to get to deal with these feelings, instead of telling them to abstain. You see, I was one day talking to a group of adolescents, and one of the adolescents gave us how she deals with her feelings and how she deals with her when maybe she feels like she wants to go have sex. She told me that when my hormones change and they make me feel like I want to have it, then I get myself busy. Like she goes and gets herself busy so that she can be distracted and not think about this thing. So young people should actually normalizing being busy and not just being idle. Because if I'm idle, I sit down, the sex feelings come. The next thing is to go look for somebody to have and finish that urge with me, and then I come back. So we understand they're human beings. There's hormonal changes, feelings do come. So by telling you to abstain will not help you. So I should teach you what to do. I should teach you so that all these things, so that you can just make informed decision and say, if I go and get myself into sex now, 1, 2, 3 is going to happen to me. You see. You see. But I'm not supposed to abstain. Sex is bad. That is nothing. It's not going to work on young people right now. It's not going to work. Yeah. That's what I wanted to actually put across.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeronime. That has been a great session. We've learned, especially on our rights. I'm sure so many women out here actually don't really know this right, because we don't have the access to this information. Thank you so much for spilling it out. I like the guys on SRHR. They call us a big spoon, a spade, and not a big spoon. You put things as they are, and actually it's something that we should learn. And yeah, forget like we have this is a taboo. It's right. It's your right to make decisions. It's your right to talk with your partner and the other person. And thank you so much for this session. And yeah, we really appreciate. And in case we have questions or someone has a question and want to reach out on you, how can they reach you? Your email or your pages? Where can someone reach out to you for more information?
Oh, awesome. So they can reach me through my personal phone number. That is 0717216298. And they can reach me also at email address that is jerobwar@gmail.com. Maybe I'll just post it for everyone to see. jerobwar@gmail.com. And they can also reach me at Facebook at Jeronime Obwar, Instagram at jerobwar, and Twitter at Jeronime Obwar1. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeronime. God bless you, and looking forward to having other sessions with you, and maybe everyone out here can reach out to Jeronime. She's an amazing SRHR advocate, and thank you so much for having us. Asante sana.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.